Selena is one of the most influential Latin artists of the past few decades. She's a person who's forever young, frozen in time, yet has transcended generations. Selena initially started with a family band that was called Selena Los Dinos. Slowly but surely, she would emerge as a solo artist and make waves throughout the Tejano music scene, becoming to this day the most successful Tejano music artist to ever live, a genre that never quite recovered after her death. Selena's longtime dream was to make a crossover album. Sadly, that never fully materialized. Outside of her natural talent, her duality is partly what made her so significant. She was Mexican American and learned Spanish to be able to sing her records. Many people identified with her. There weren't many mainstream Mexican Americans in popular music. After a lot of success in the Latin market, Selena would release her magnum opus Amor Prohibido in 1994. Amor Prohibido is actually a really forward-thinking album for its time. It explores themes of forbidden love with the title track, which is a universal message, but also relates greatly to the LGBT community. The song is based off of the story of Selena's grandparents, but also mirrored her life with her husband Chris Perez, who was famously shunned by Selena's father when he found out about their relationship. Selena's father tried everything to break them up, even kicking Chris out of their band. That clearly didn't work, and they would eventually elope just so they could be together openly. See, Una Vez is one of her career high songs, and simply Latin pop perfection. She delivers such an impassioned and throaty vocal performance over some fine-tuned balladry. In this song, she talks about her regret of falling for someone. And of course, there are cuts like Bitty Bitty Bomb Bomb that talk about love and falling for someone. Some of these topics are very universal, but when reflecting on Selena's life, you can see that some of the tracks do overlap into her personal life. Amor Prohibido is her most accomplished album. It's rich, it's passionate, and has one solid track after another. It blends many different genres, Tejano music, some hip-hop influence, and even a tinge of R&B, but it still manages to stay true to its Latin roots. Amor Prohibido was also a very commercially successful album, so much so that it almost cracked the Billboard 200 charts, which was not very common for Latin singers during that time. Amor Prohibido is one of the best-sung Latin albums of all time, and ushered in Tejano music to the mainstream market. Shortly after Amor Prohibido, she began working on her crossover album. English was actually Selena's first language, so she always wanted to do an English record, even towards the beginning of her career. However, her label didn't necessarily believe that the English album would become a success. They had promised her time and time again that she would eventually be able to do it, but nothing came of it until hands were forced, and Selena's executive allegedly told the label that she would leave the label if it didn't happen. During the recording sessions for her final and crossover record Dreaming of You, she recorded the title track and another song titled I Could Fall in Love. Dreaming of You is a smooth pop R&B slow jam, and served as a eulogy song for fans during her untimely death. I Could Fall in Love is a soft rock and R&B track, and in my opinion, her best English song. It became so popular that it wasn't released as a single. Her label feared that it would outsell her album. Unfortunately, Selena never got to see or enjoy the success for herself, after she was murdered in March of 1995. The album was released 4 months after her death, to great success. It sold 175,000 copies on its first day of release in the USA, and over 300,000 copies first week, which was a record high during that time. It became the first predominantly Spanish record to debut atop of the charts. The album helped increase America's interest in Latin music, and was a definite precursor of what was to come. The album also has some clean radio hits like Captive Heart, which recalls some of Janet Jackson's older music. I'm Getting Used to You blends 70s soul, hip-hop, and Latin music. Missing My Baby is a sweet, endearing ballad that also can be viewed as a sentiment towards her death. In fact, I personally find that a lot of the English songs on here can be viewed that way. Dreaming of You and Missing My Baby both talk about longing for someone, and similarly, I'm Getting Used to You and I Could Fall in Love are love songs to the core. However, they essentially talk about wanting someone around, which is quite easy to make a comparison to Selena herself. Although Dreaming of You has some solid tracks, it feels like it lacks Selena's vivacious personality that was present in a lot of her Spanish music, and I have no doubts that it's due to her untimely death while recording the album. Dreaming of You was her definite crossover moment, but in itself it's still very incomplete and a mere sketch of what could have been. Nonetheless, this record was extremely influential, along with her 1997 biopic that helped establish her as an American icon. Dreaming of You was marked by tragedy, and although it isn't her artistic high point, it helped pave the way for the Latin music explosion to come in swinging in the US market the way it did in the late 90s and early thousands. It also cemented Selena's legacy as a cross-cultural and generational figure. Although it is easy for people to get caught in what could have been with Selena, who experienced a young and untimely death, it's also important to acknowledge that her influence is very prevalent today, and she is one of the pioneers of getting Latin music into American markets. After Selena, Americans became more fascinated with Latin music. Dreaming of You is the best-selling Latin album of all time in the US, and Amor Prohibido is also one of the top-selling Latin albums of all time.